what I'm going to teach you to do is more so work with your darker color that you're going to do on your eye before you even put your lighter color on. And the reason why I teach it that way is so that you can really see where that natural creasing is for you, which is different than most people that you're watching these videos and looking at their information.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is take any type of brush. Usually it's, because I kind of know what I'm doing, I can use different tools and kind of manipulate a little bit, but I would generally say to use a smaller brush when going in that crease, especially when working with a smaller eye, because it can get really out of control very quickly.
Okay.
If we're looking at your eye color is a little bit like a mix between that blue-green. So my question for you would be, what do you want to pop more? Do you want more green to come out? Do you want more blue to come out?
More green.
Okay. So always a good question to ask because, we can kind of manipulate with the colors. Like color theory is really a valuable tool for us to use to kind of know what we're looking for here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to dip into this. It's called Dusty Rose, I believe. Yeah. Like Dusty Rose. Yeah. So it's a matte color. Okay. So you always want to go with a matte, especially in the crease. You can do shimmer and stuff on the bottom part of the lid, but you really want to go with matte in the crease. And what we're going to do first is we're going to go to the top of the eyebrow. I apologize, my hands are freezing. We're going to go to the top of the eyebrow and we're going to pull this up.
Okay.
So that we can really see how much of the eye shape that we're really working with.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
Okay. Now, normally, if I were to just like flip my brush over here, this is normally the crease in here where people are putting the color. But if you were to put color there and then we dropped this, it would just disappear right in your eye. Okay. So we can't put the color there. We actually have to create a little bit more space. And the idea is to really lengthen the eye lengthwise. And the way that we do that is by putting a darker color on the part that already is more forward facing.
Okay.
And a lighter color on the area that we want to bring forward. Because just like contour and highlighting, it's basically the same with your eyeshadows. Anywhere where there's a light color, more attention, it's going to look like it's more forward. Anywhere where there's a darker color, it's going to make it look more receded. Okay. So the mistake that most people make, just not even knowing, is they put either a light color all over their entire lid or they highlight the brow bone, because that's literally something that they see on every video.
That's me.
Well, when you're highlighting this whole brow bone area, it's just bringing this more forward. You're not doing yourself any favors. You're just bringing more attention all to the area that's already hooded. So you guys are not people that should be doing any highlighting around the brow bone. I will show you, though, how to get the effect of more of that lift there without doing the traditional highlight under there.
Okay.
But the reason why I do this darker color first is because you really get a good idea of what the framework is. Once you have that darker color, you put that into the crease or the brow bone there. Now you see all this, like this whole eye real estate that you have, all this space, and you're like, wow, I never put color there. What most people do is they'll take their brush with their lightest color, even if they are applying down here, they'll take it and they'll apply it the width of their brush. So like if I were to go like this on your eye and we lifted this up, they would only do right here. See how it's like the width of the brush?
Yeah.
They would only go right here, and then that's where they would stop. Where actually, you'll see when we get the darker color on there, it's almost like we could do two of these. One row and then a second row, because we're going to go all the way up until we hit this bone. So that's like, now we have all this space to work with, where normally we weren't adding any color there, because the darker color is actually going to go on the bone that's kind of hidden behind the skin right here.
Okay, because normally when I'm doing it, I do know about the bone, so I'm just doing right here. But I see with the lift, there is so much more that I'm missing.
You probably, right now, like you could be putting them in the right areas. You're just missing out on a lot more space to put the highlight color, which could kind of give you more of that pop there. So what we're going to do first is we're going to lift the eye open, kind of like we were doing. I'm going to feel in the middle of the eye where the bone is, and I'm going to go right to the center of the eye, and that's where I'm going to drop down with my first amount of color. You're looking with your eye open to do your eyeshadow, which is the easiest thing for anybody to really do, especially people with a hooded eye, because if you put that color down and do like a little touch down there, and you don't see the color with your eye open looking straight ahead, you went way too low. So this is how you know you hit the right spot to start.
Okay.
Is we're like, okay, we feel it on the bone. Okay, we feel it right there. Now we're just going to go from there a little bit over to the left. We're going to bring it on a little bit outside part of the eye, and we're going to bring it a little bit in. We never want to go closer than I would say like we want to leave that inside space of the eye. Like we could take a brush or we could take a finger and we could go right here. See how we're not going in any deeper than that? This is a really important part because people tend to really darken up. They take that dark color all the way in.
Yeah.
Okay. And if you bring this too far in, it's just going to continue to darken the eye. So we want, again, a very small brush, and we want to make sure that if we were to take a brush or a finger, whatever it is, that whole area is open and that there's no color there.
Okay.
This is where our darkest color is going to go on the outer part of the eye. If we do 3 colors, our mid-tone color that's more of a matte is going to go right on this crease brow bone, almost is kind of what it's called. Our highlight color is going to go on the bottom part of the lid. So now go ahead and just close for 1 second. I'm just going to show Kathy. Now we have all of the space to work with all underneath there. We're going to bring a light color all in there.
Got it. Okay, so this color that you're using, that's all you're doing is just that.
Yep. Now it seems like right now, okay, what the heck, we're looking a little crazy. We don't have anything blended yet.
Right.
This is where people get really nervous because when it's not blended, they're like, oh gosh, it's way too dark, it's too much color, what do I do? So we're going to take this straight edge and we're going to go from the bottom of the nose up, and we don't want any color coming outside of that line. So if we were to bring it from the nose, that's how we kind of know. Now we can fix that with a little bit of concealer at the end, which we will go through and do. But that's kind of how we're going to start it.
Okay.
So we take that first. Once we have the color, now we're going to use a blending brush. The blending brush is really crucial, I think, for especially a hooded eye, but any person who's wearing multiple eyeshadow colors so that they don't get muddy. The reason why they get muddy is because people go into all these different shadows or colors, or even if they're the same ones, and they don't get washed very often. Or they do have a brush that they use to blend, but it's a brush that they're putting it in the palette and then they're blending it. They're, oh, I need a little bit more of this lighter color, this darker color. They don't have designated brushes for the specific shades.
So this is like a clean brush.
This is a clean brush that never goes in the palette. But the blending brush is great because it's really nice and fluffy. It's long, and you're just going to go in and it's just to soften up lines.
So is it still picking up the color? I mean, is it going to get dirty?
It will a little bit, but it doesn't much. Like you should either way be cleaning your brushes like once a week if you're wearing makeup every single day and using them. Most people don't.
I have never cleaned my brushes.
Okay, well, we got to definitely talk about that. Mary Kay does have a brush cleaner that's just an alcohol-based cleaner. What I love about this is it's very cost-effective. It's like $10. It's like 10 or 12 bucks. I can't remember the exact price, but it's very cost-effective. And all you have to do, so like say you're around your makeup station, all you got to do is just spray them, have a little towel, like paper towel or regular towel, anything like that.
Kleenex.
To just go ahead and do a little swipe to get the color out of there. It dries in like 15 seconds and you can immediately use the brush again.
Okay.
So something like this, like if you're not somebody who's washing your brushes and you know, okay, that's definitely an area where I need to improve a little bit. You will definitely notice a difference, especially if you're using multiple shadow colors.
I don't even think I have the right brushes, honestly.
Yeah, and so, we have the brush set too, which is another great option. And I think it's like you get 5 brushes in there, and they say on there specifically what they are.
And now it looks so much better now that you blended it. It looks just so much better.
A quick thing about blending. We're taking this brush. We're not blending back and forth like this. I see a lot of people, they go towards the end of the brush, and they just go. And they're like very aggressive blending. What you're going to see what I do with this is I actually go more to the middle part of the brush. I kind of touch it down there on the outer part of the eye, and I only blend into the eye, and I do little tiny circles. I'm not trying to move this color around the entire eye. All I'm trying to do is just in place, just soften up the lines. So same thing with this side. We're going to lift up. We're going to feel where that bone is.
Yeah, I feel that. Okay. Yeah.
We're going to touch down a little bit of color. We see, okay, yep, we see where that is. That looks good. We're going to come a little bit farther out on the outside. Because
I like it already.
We chose.
Yeah,
already
really
because
good.
of the tones that we chose.
Yeah.
Your eye is actually going to pull more green because of the tones that are going to work really well for you. I'm going to take a liquid eyeshadow, okay, in Light Beam. I really like these because they don't crease. So what I'm going to do is take it on my brush. At home, I can just take this right on my finger and literally just tap it into that whole place. I love how easy it is. I love how I can do it on the go. It's the ultimate on-the-go car makeup type of look. Easy to apply anywhere. So now we're going to go, and now we lift up this eye, and oh my gosh, we have all this space to work with now.
So this is all going on the lid.
Yep. So I'm going to drop down a little bit of this color on my brush, on my finger, whatever it is. And again, most people do right here. They just do that one little tiny area. This does have shimmer, so I would still kind of do that. You can bring it a little bit higher. But what we also want to avoid is as the skin ages, we don't really want to put any unnecessary attention on any lines that are naturally there. And so I'm going to show you how I do this. So I'm still going to kind of do like just like a little, almost like a half moon just on that bottom lid. And I'm pressing this into place rather than like really rubbing it back and forth because I want it to stay very bright. I don't want to move the color around too much. We're going to do the same thing over here. And then we still have really that second row. Like, okay, well, what do we put there? We don't really want to put a shimmer color because the shimmer color would bring attention to any lines. We don't really want to do that. So what do we do instead? I'm going to take a highlight lighter color in a matte shade. You know, I put that light beam there, and right above it, right in between that little extra room that we created, I feel where the bone is, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have all this extra room. I'm literally going to pat down the biscotti right in here. So this is going to kind of be the transition color from the shimmer to the dark color, but it's going to create all this extra space in my eye, in your eye.
I see ya. Yeah.
So look at how it's literally adding like this visual illusion of more room. We really need to go.
Okay. Almost like you have to pick it up, put it in there, and let it fall.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
Fall on it.
Yep. Exactly. So what a difference, even just with that, bringing the eyes more forward.
Yeah.
Creating a little bit more space with that. You can layer the liquid on top of anything on either end.
Okay.
I'm going to take kind of our pop color here, okay? Which you're probably like, again, a lot of times people with a hooded eye are like, this is way dark. Where are you putting that?
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere near me with that. So now this is the really important part. Yeah, so go ahead and close for me really quick. Now I'm going to flip my brush upside down. I'm going to kind of get to the point of it. And I'm literally just going to tap it right where I would put eyeliner, okay? So that's where I'm starting, is right on that outer corner. And I want that to be just the smallest little bit there, okay? Once I do that first little line, the only difference now is I kind of just brush it up. And really all I'm trying to create here is just a little bit more of that like smoky fade. So I'm creating this little sideways V. I'm just literally touching it down on the outer part of the eye. If I were to go to test this, okay, it's not going any farther than there. So I start here, and then wherever this ends, like my stroke, I go here. Okay, it ends there. I just literally brush right up. Just kind of tickle those lashes the smallest bit with that darkest color. Tap it down. Wanting your eyes to look more green, adding a little bit of this plum. A lot of times people think too, okay, I want my eyes to be greener. They think, oh my gosh, but I don't want to wear purple eyeshadow. You don't have to. It just means work in some berry tones in your overall makeup look. What does that mean? A blush that has a little bit of a berry undertone. A lipstick or tinted lip balm that has a little bit of a berry undertone. There's a lot of ways to add those natural colors in without them having to be on your eyes. So I'm back to my blending brush, the one that I haven't put in the palette at all.
Right.
So when we first see it, again, it's like it could be pretty dramatic. Now, what takes it from dramatic to I need it way more neutral is just the amount of blending. That's it. You want it to stay more dramatic, you don't blend it as much. You maybe just do a little blending.
Okay.
You want it to be a lot softer, we just blend more.
And this is kind of an everyday go to work kind of look, just a standard kind of look?
Yeah. I mean, and really the biggest thing is like the way I kind of like to teach it, at least, and I could be different than other people, but the way that I've always really loved to teach it is building in colors like that. So say you just want 2 colors. Just do the first 2 colors that we did. Do the lightest color on the bottom and do that crease color.
Okay.
If you want to add a little bit extra, then maybe a 3rd color becomes only when I'm going out for something special, or only when I'm going to an event.
Okay.
Or it could be every day if you're like, hey, I really think that it makes a big difference and I want a little bit more of that kick.
Yeah.
Then you could do this every day. There's a lot of people that do, and they just soften it right up. And it's however natural or dramatic they want it, they just blend more.
So I noticed that I see a little bit down here from the residual. Is that, was that on purpose or that's not?
The hooded eye will, a lot of times, it'll kind of float down because of the shape of your eye, because this comes out farther, like this top part of the hooded part of the eye comes out farther. So a lot of times it does kind of go underneath. So what I'm going to show you next is the little cleanup. It's under eye corrector. I'm going to put a little bit of that on the back of my hand. I'm also taking a concealer that's a shade lighter than your skin tone, which for you is going to be the deep ivory. Okay. I'm going to mix those two together in a minute, but I want you to see.
And this is they're both concealers?
They're both concealers, but they have different functions. And so if you look at this, you can see this one's more peach.
Yep.
Way more warm. And then this is more true to like a traditional concealer that you would see.
Right.
The reason why we need both of these though is because the peach undertone concealer corrects the blue, purple, green undertones in the eye, which mostly everybody has. I've yet to meet anybody who's lucky enough to not have that look.
It's all your veins.
And it's all the veins, yeah.
Yeah. And this also can be used too on the eyelid. Like if you feel like you have a really dark eyelid, you could do a little bit of this before you even do your shadow on your eyelid. You could do one tiny little dot on there and just press it in, and it would make a world of difference for a lot of people that are dark there. But when we mix a little bit of it with a traditional concealer, now we're correcting the dark area and we're brightening it at the same time. So I'm mixing those two together, and now what I'm going to do is basically the angle of the brush, I'm going to go right underneath the eye, and I'm just going to touch down with a little bit of this product, okay? Now what I can do is now when I swipe this up, it'll actually angle all of that eye makeup up to make it look more lifted now.
I see.
We don't want to do a ton of concealer all underneath the eye. We just want to do this corner, and we just want to do this little divot here where we tend to have more of that veiny look that needs to be corrected.
Yeah, because I find that if I put stuff underneath, it emphasizes the wrinkles that are in my eyes.
Yeah, so, and that's very, very typical, especially for people like if they're noticing aging in their eye, which a lot of people are, it's like, age 20 plus. Women that are teenagers and that are on TikTok and that are even in their 20s, when they don't see any of that aging there, they can load on a pound of concealer. You're not going to see me at 34 doing that. You're probably not going to see one of you doing that either. So it's really just not sustainable for the look that people want. And the more you kind of have to choose, like if you have a drier eye, you have to choose like, okay, if I put concealer there and my eye is so dry that it soaks it all up and makes it look worse, do I like that look better? Am I okay with that look? Or would I prefer to not really put much of anything there, and maybe it won't bring as much attention to that, but it's going to look really dark.
Right, okay.
It just kind of depends on, how we're applying it. So I always go with less is more. So I'm just pressing this in, and then I'm going to angle this up. And what that's going to do is it's going to cut off that little tiny bit that came up there. And the difference I always think is incredible, because you can tell pretty much right away that it is lifting that area. Like just visually, you can tell it just angles it upwards.
Yeah, you can tell the difference between this one and that one.
Let's see.
It's like, it's almost
literally is like an eye lift.
Yeah, it kind of popped.
So that's going to pick up our color right there.
I like it.
Yeah, something a little different too than the creams and browns that we're so used to and that you can get kind of sick of,
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's not that you don't like them, but I think that we just get bored we kind of get in like a color rut of like, these are the same
This
colors
is the same thing.
So I would probably recommend doing a brown eyeliner for you. See how more attention is on just the natural shaping of the eye? Whereas a lot of times when we look at people's eyes and we just see when they have lighter coloring, and then we're like, okay, black eyeliner is really all that you're focusing on. If you're working with a hooded eye and your eye has more of a tendency of dragging down, you never want to just do just underneath mascara. You either want to do top and a little bit of bottom, or just the top. Okay. But you do have a tendency with a hooded eye to have more fallout. So, if you want, and because of the shaping of the eye, a lot of times the cheekbone comes higher on a lot of you guys, so it creates a lot of heat in this under eye area, which makes products move more. So you might just find that it just simplifies your look.